Wanna know where is my tool bucket? Who took it from me? Broke into my house that night and stole from me. Using up blowtorch is quite insanity. Then got a rock and threw it through the window, the back door window. Snuck into the house, that foolish bucket foe. Took it to the pawn shop to get money. Need your hands here now. Hey dude man, coolest thing around. My show now, you're my hands right now. This is Adam Sheffield. Welcome to American Heritage Center Radio, home of the Property Therapy and Talent Development Program. We have today property defender Sheila and her husband here in the studio. And property defender Sheila represents what she's dealt with. It represents millions of Americans in the world. And we're going to talk about their story or their property therapy story of their properties or their property and what how they dealt with their property issues, and then talk about how this blend. And then we're going to talk about an amp and this property therapy story of a amp, music amp that John Pine here fixed up,
reviving an old tube amplifier. Had seen better days, but needed some tubes and some other work to get it going again.
So Sheila, property defender Sheila. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So you have here, you have been one of my tenants for 4 or 5 years now. And
Yes.
there's been property issues that you've dealt with. And on the show, we talk about negative and positive property issues. Mm-hmm. And the negative issues would be like mob violence coming to destroy your property, or break-ins and thefts. And,
Homeless people.
Yeah. And then positive property issues would be how are you going to realize your dreams? Mm-hmm. How are you going to define the property? Or how are you going to obtain the property? And once you have this property, it's a stewardship harbor. It helps you to develop your talents in all sorts of ways. And when you've dealt with you said homeless people.
Yeah. Well, the place next door has been empty since I lived there. They never had a tenant there, and there's a privacy fence dividing from my house to their house. And several times I've come out, early in the morning. My dogs, if really been barking and carrying on, and I can see where the homeless people are there, and it's like it's just an uncomfortable feeling for me and my family, So myself and the neighbor next door and the lady across the street, we all kind of work together, to where, he would be able to keep an eye on everything, and the lady across the street, her motion light with I had motion lights put up in the back and the side because of the people, homeless people, and wanting to, try to take what I got, so.
Yeah, you
got that.
Yeah, so the light helps to dispel darkness.
It does.
And when you have light on you, it helps to spread disperse the iniquity.
It does
around
it does,
you.
Absolutely.
And so you've taken that. So that's would be a defense. Mm-hmm. Like how do you defend your property? So this would go under the break-ins and thefts. Right. Would be part of that. And then, so not only has there been issues with, homeless people and thefts, mm-hmm. Also issues of what else? There's drug activity.
Across the street, yes. Yeah, there was a drug house across the street, and the people, in the middle of the night, like half the night, people was pulling up, and leaving, my dogs would bark, and, it's like kept me up all night long, I'm like this, people walking, backpacks. Well, they raided the place a couple of times to where now they just walk on foot with backpacks, which is very uncomfortable for me, and right across the street there's a field, and the grass is real high, So when my motion light would go off, and I'm seeing heads go down, I'm like, what's really going on here, So, and yeah, so it just, it's uncomfortable for me and my family, and I called several times myself, I had the cops out there, and the cops won't, they don't seem to do anything because he's on his porch and it's private property,
So you formed property Therapy Network.
I
teamed
did.
up.
I did with myself and the next door neighbor and the lady across the street because we just got tired of it, So we all kind of worked together, where he kind of he keeps an eye on everything. He's my best next door neighbor ever. And he keeps an eye on everything for me. And the lady across the street, she's got motion lights and she's got cameras and stuff. So between the three of us, we got the corner kind of.
So this is one of the issues of property therapy issues out there is the morale of the property therapist, right?
Yeah.
And that, like teaming up with other property therapists that
Right.
are concerned about property as well, it helps your morale.
It does. It
Right?
absolutely does, yeah.
And when you have that forward momentum and people on your team, you feel like the wind's at your
can sleep.
back, because it just suffocates your spirit when there's.
You have to be on guard all the time, It's like it's not a
Yeah.
good feeling,
And
Yeah.
what I've experienced is whenever you're having those kinds of problems, you need to get a hold of your neighbors because there's a lot of them that will be on your team, and then you're going to find out that some of them are actually on the opposite team because they're involved in that same stuff. So you need to figure out who's on your team and get to work with those
Exactly,
people.
yeah.
Because you'd be surprised. Sometimes even the property owners, might be part of the bad things that are going on there.
And getting an understanding of the diagnostic. That's a diagnostic. And oftentimes the property therapy diagnostic is the most difficult thing to do. Like, what's causing it? What's the problems with this? Like in this property,
Right.
one of the things was the squirrel issues.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Oh,
Those
the
squirrels
squirrels
in
was
the
awful.
in
It was
the
terrible.
attic.
I could hear them at night, and in my room, I could hear them just screeching down the walls, And that's when I called you, It's like I'm not getting no sleep, because they're keeping me up all night, And so it just went on for quite a while, And then we were sitting down eating dinner, and all of a sudden I could smell smoke, and I'm like, where is this smoke coming from? So I ran downstairs, and it wasn't downstairs, so I ran upstairs, and I got to the top of the steps, Adam. The whole wall, the flame was so high from the socket.
So the squirrels
From the
were gnawing
sockets.
on some of the wiring.
I've seen them chew into the
upstairs.
Romex. I've seen them build nests.
They
and
build the
insulation.
yeah.
I've
They
never seen
chew.
the whole wall completely, to my whole room, the whole side was all with from the socket all with the wall, the
and
flame.
So what
From
was
the
going on?
squirrels.
What was going on is the holes. There was the penetration, so we put wire mesh over the holes, and then put fascia board on top of it, so that if they chewed through the wood, they couldn't get through the mesh. And then so we would block off one place, and it seems like they would just open
they
up
would,
another
yeah.
place. They're
They'd
like,
find another
we're
spot,
used
yeah.
to getting in here. We want to get back in here. So
They're all over.
they were intent on getting back in. That's the thing is about when squirrels get in a place, they've got their babies in there, whatever, and so we would figure out, and then the neighbor would kind of keep an eye on this, and so we would button things up, and
Right.
but the thing is, they were getting in. It would be quiet for a few weeks,
Oh yeah,
but then they would get in, and then we're like, where's it getting?
Yeah.
The diagnostic, and then what happened?
right. Well, Ron, he watches everything, and he's a squirrel watcher and bird watcher, and he was watching with binoculars, and he showed me, he says, they're coming in the side right there. So
And I
that's
went
when
up in the ladder, but they weren't.
Yeah,
I looked in there;
weren't.
it was buttoned up top. That was
We
the
had no
weird thing
idea.
about it, because he was saying they're getting in here, and I went up there with a 20-foot ladder. They weren't. There's no hole there.
They wasn't getting
and
in
so,
there, yeah.
so what happened? What happened? We called a
squirrel
property
guy.
therapist. Yeah, the squirrel hunter. A modern day Daniel Boone.
What's he do? Does he trap one squirrel and tie a string to it, and then follow the string?
So what happened? So he went up in the attic.
He went up in the attic and
it's just incredible how he was able to get in the attic.
Adam, I couldn't believe
how
my-
he
I couldn't believe my eyes. His whole body was in there, Adam.
There's like there's ceiling doors in attics where you open the door and then you can get right in. But in this door, you
This
open
is
up the
only
door.
like
There's the ceiling joists that are right there in your face. They're like 6 inches away from the hole, and I'm
I
like,
couldn't believe what I was seeing.
How in the world?
His whole body was in there.
Yeah, no, he got in there, and so what happened was, what did he see? Because he got his body in there, he must have been like part Odo, or like
I have no idea. But
on Star Trek, the
couldn't believe what I
guy that
was
was the fluid guy, he could
Right, yeah.
smear in places.
He did, yeah.
So when he got in there, he was able to see the light penetration.
Where the squirrels was
and he
coming in
would
at.
see he saw the diagnostic.
He did.
Of
He
what
went
the
straight
issue
to
was,
it.
and it wasn't even a place we even suspected.
No,
it was on
right
the south side of
on-
the building.
way in the
And
corner,
it was way in the corner, and it was just like it was underneath us, like a soffit on there's like 2 or 3 different levels on the house, and so it was in a place that you couldn't even see it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've
we
seen
never
that,
thought it was
like,
coming there. From
When
there.
there's a roof coming over like a dormer or something, and you can't even see there. You have to
Yeah.
basically reach your hand up in there to even check it to see if there's a hole there.
Right. So that was the diagnostic, and so once we solved the diagnostic, it was just boom, 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 done.
We did, got it done. Yeah,
Done.
That
Nothing.
quick. It was done.
The diagnostic, and so no matter. I mean, even with your diagnostic on cars, getting the what's wrong. Then once you know what's wrong, it's just a matter of turning bolt, getting the parts, turning the bolt, getting to the place where it's at, popping it out, putting the new
Getting it
part
done.
in there. Even the diagnostic in the medical field, Dr. Dye, he's a retired dentist, and
The first thing you got to do is find out what the problem is and diagnose it right, and then you can solve the problem. If you diagnose it wrong or guess, then it's disaster. But the ultimate protection, early warning system, are dogs. You can late at night, a light can go on, but nobody sees it. But we got 5 dogs, and I can't even project how many people get scared off by those dogs. So I would get you a dog, or at least 2 dogs, because they're pack animals, and they guard your house a lot better if there's 2 of them.
so the dogs are the diagnostic.
Or people breaking in or going around your house.
Because they can hear like pitches and frequencies
Oh, yeah.
humans can't even hear.
Yeah.
And but when you're a dentist, you have the diagnostic for the X-rays.
X-rays and all kinds of different things.
So you have the property therapy on the body, the body property therapy.
Same concept.
Yeah. So in like homes and auto repairs, we don't have X-rays, do we? Which would be really nice. Just take an X-ray of the house.
Yeah, it's all related to the same principle of protecting your property with either neighbors, get a couple dogs, motion lights, and then but you can sleep at night with dogs because they'll bark 24/7. They're on it, unless you get one that sleeps all the time.
So this would be the property therapy issue of defense of your property with, pet friends.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd say it's number one. Get you some dogs. And
So
go from there.
we are with the property defender, Sheila Dye, and Dr. Dye.
At your service.
And so they're telling their stories about their property therapy stories about how they've dealt with the property issues like break-ins and thefts or drug activity. And so when you're on drugs, you don't have respect for other people's property, right? Because you're just trying to get the high, the next fix, right?
Right.
So that's the problem. I mean, we want people to be able to deal with the body problems or issues of pain and suffering that they have, right? But we want them channeling themselves to not get addicted, because it causes just people around you just depression.
Right.
Depression. It causes that. It just that kind of activity. It's not good to have around your property, right?
Exactly.
So you not only have you had lights, the lighting, and the dogs. So you have the sound and the
Motion lights.
the motion lights, and so you've used the senses and smells when you smelt the smoke.
Right.
So you smelled that. So you've used the senses. What other senses are there? There's eyes, ears, hearing. The dog's hearing, and then what is else? Feeling. You felt about that when you had
The batteries,
the
I
batteries.
did.
So what happened there?
I did. I have a truck in the back, a large moving truck in the back, and it's got 2 big batteries in it.
So the diesel
It
truck
was about
batteries.
4:00 in the morning.
They're
my
like
dogs were
$200 batteries.
My dogs were
each.
just going crazy, and I'm like, "What is going on out there?" So I
And you had a feeling, like a sinking
I
feeling.
I did.
What's going on?
I did. I just whenever I turned, whenever I looked
vibration,
out and back,
wow.
I felt like somebody was looking at me or something,
That's
So I
like
immediately
people-
let my dogs out.
It's like people, it's a testimony of people that have these spirits inside. Something was not
Yeah,
right. It's
something
in the
wasn't right.
vibration
I
of
knew there
your
wasn't something
spirit.
wasn't right. Well, immediately when I opened the dogs out, they went straight to the truck, and I thought, well, something's going on back here. So I went back to the truck, and observed it myself. And they had all my leads to my batteries stuck straight up. So I knew that they was, and then I started looking around like they're looking at me, you know. I had that feeling like they was looking at me, you know, and I knew they was getting ready to steal them, you know. So I got my husband up and got him, and we got the batteries inside, you know, so they wasn't able to take them, you know. So it was just that moment, you know what I mean, that, you know, I happened to wake up, you know what I mean, at the right time, you know, or they would have had my batteries.
And that's really the only property that you have is the property that you can defend.
Exactly.
So what you did, you changed the location of the possession where the property was stored. Sometimes you got to do that, right? Put the property in a more secure place. And that's one of the reasons why we have here storage facilities here for.
That's right. We're going to be offering some storage for your boats, your trailers, your RV. We've got a
triple barbed wire courtyard.
Got one of the only storage areas available here near the square in Independence. You can give us a call if you're interested in storing your boat, your trailer, or your RV.
At 816-674-3035. Park your boat, store it away for the wintertime.
To get that extra car out of your driveway, maybe you've got a project car that it's in the way every time you're trying to get in and out of your house. We've got a good place we can park it down here.
So storing the property, moving into more secure places, that's another defensive technique of what you're doing. So this is all property defense. So this is property defender Sheila and Dr. Dye. The property defenders are here. So I mean, these stories are the stories of millions of Americans.
It is. It's
also
sad.
worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so you've also not only you've used light, you've used dogs, you've used your sinking feelings, like the spirit inside you that you had guide you, and also you've used clearing out lines of sight.
I did, because my backyard was completely full of weeds, you know, and trees and stuff where I couldn't see, you know, and my next door neighbor is on side of his bedroom where he could see straight down my driveway. Well, I knew that if I cleared all that out, you know, and got rid of all of it, okay.
She really went to town.
I did. And he's got a perfect view now. He can see all the way down my driveway. So that made me feel a lot better. I could sleep a lot better, you know, and just knowing that it was done, you know. I knew it had to be done, but I just went ahead.
You got up at 7 o'clock in the morning.
I did. I started very early. It was an early morning project, and it took me quite a while to get it done, and it took quite a while to get that tree down, but I did get it down.
And what was the feeling?
It was, but it's made me feel a lot better, like if I can sleep, you know, and not know that, you know.
No doubt.
It's just made me feel a lot better for not only myself, but my family, you know.
And the feeling of accomplishment.
It is.
It's just incredible.
It was. It was great. It was a great feeling.
You don't have that, like any kind of drugs that like a hospital could prescribe cannot give you that feeling.
No, it was great. It was absolutely. I mean, I called you immediately. I was just so impressed, you know, me, because I just knew that, you know, I can sleep now and I don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? You know. And it was a better feeling. It made me feel so good, you know.
It's the opposite of that helpless feeling you get when you've been taken advantage of by somebody stealing something.
I know, yeah.
It's like the polar opposite of that feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And this is exemplifies the property therapy.
Yeah.
So you're taking care of the property, and the property's taking care of you.
Absolutely.
Gives you can
it's
sleep
what you have
at
to
night.
do, yeah.
The line of sight. And so much of it, of the defensive property, is being able to see things where other people see things, because people think that get away, but God's watching everything.
He is,
right.
He is,
and so but silent notes taking on all of our conduct.
But the ultimate concept, protecting your property, is the Second Amendment. You get your gun, and then you can protect your property. If you don't know what you're doing, go to Frontier Justice in Lee Summit, and they'll make you a real safe gun owner, because somebody's coming through the window. You might be your kid that lost a key. You don't want to shoot him, so you got to pay attention before you pull the trigger. But get you AR-15, 38, 45, anything will work, and that'll give you peace of mind just in case.
Yeah, so let's talk about what the laws are on self-defense, and this is I'm glad that you brought this up, because we're going to have a gun instructor talk about this and defense of property with guns and upcoming for our next show. So I'm glad you brought this up, because under the law of state of Missouri, you can not use lethal force to defend property unless your life is threatened or they're come to commit a felony. And that's the way the law is in Missouri, and versus the law in Texas, where you can use lethal force to
After
defend
sundown,
property after it gets dark.
Yeah, it gets dark.
So
So the law is different in different jurisdictions. So I mean, but if they're coming to break into your property and they're armed and you see commit a felony and you see that they are, a felony would be something that of severe value. Committing a felony, that would be something that could be a felony as well, and like a threatening. So you would have that argument. It's on the scales. It's the factors, like the time of day, the night, and who's in the house, etc. What you have in the house. It's just weight on the scales.
Right.
And so the law is what it is in Missouri. So what I just advise clients is tell them what the law is. And then they have to make the decision, and I advise them what the risk is. You see, and then and this is something about but the law can change in Missouri, especially if there's a rash of property problems. It might be they need to relook at what the law is in help protect property owners. Something more like perhaps what they have in Texas. But that's something that the legislature can talk about. Mm-hmm. So, but the heart of all the mob violence that we have in the Black Lives Matter protests, it stems from this. They don't believe that this country was built for them, and so they're rioting. They want to take it down. But we here at the Property Therapy Show, we're saying if it wasn't built for you, let's get some property therapy going on, and you build it up again. We want people channeling their talents
Instead of trying to tear it down.
Trying to tear it down. And the reality of it is a lot of these anarchists are not in the black community that we grew up around. They're not from around here. They're hired guns, right?
seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, and so like George Soros.
They're mercenaries.
Mercenaries,
bought
right?
by billionaire people.
Yeah.
That want to destroy America. But we outnumber them 100 to 1. So
Yeah, so
we can take care of the problem. Then there won't be any of them.
So these are anarchists. They're not they don't care about the community. They just want to tear down the whole system and set up a Marxist communistic state. That's what they're trying to go for.
It'll never happen, but let them try.
But with the Property Therapy Show, it helps people take responsibility for properties and helps people realize their talents, and that's what we want. We want to outreach the younger generation to get a hold of this property therapy. Mm-hmm. And if you know how to take care of property, you get property, mm-hmm. and you don't want the government having to tell a dictatorship government telling you how to run your lives with enterprise, and we want to encourage enterprise because everything rides on the back of enterprise, right? Science. So enterprise would be meeting the needs of humanity with goods or services. But enterprise, we want to channel the people to be able to get enterprise. And everything rides on the back of enterprise. Science, universities, government, winning wars, if the output that you can do in your country, it's all rides on the back of enterprise. So we want to see the big companies, and that's one of the things we talk about on the show, is the big companies flowing down to help the little companies. Mm-hmm. Instead of putting these little companies out of the business, mm-hmm. we need to stop paying these handouts to people that don't have purpose-driven lives, but instead funding it to the small businesses that like the small family farms, mom and pop stores. Mm-hmm. Stop putting them out of the big business and then funding all the entitlement handouts. We want to keep these people that have enterprise in their lives, mm-hmm. funding that in, and that way we get away from the corrupt system of buying votes with other people's money, right? Right. And because it never ends, and it creates an entitlement set up where the destruction of property, like the Antifa has been pickaxing and destroying the roads out in California. Did you see those pictures?
Yeah, I did see some of those.
They've been actually pickaxing these roads, and but they don't realize that they know how to destroy property, but they don't know how to fix it up, do they? And along those lines, we have here a bag of asphalt. And it's a 60-pound bag. You can get these to restore roads or asphalt, like potholes. Mm-hmm. And here, so we have here in the mascot bird. He's Bowie. Hey, Bowie. So wherever there's property therapy issues, Bowie's wants to learn, because the bowerbirds are birds that watch and learn from other property therapists. And so Bowie blew in from a hurricane that blew him up here. They're usually, the bowerbirds don't get that far north up here from the oceanic waters, but Bowie's up here, and he stayed with us because he's learning about all the property therapies skills here. And so we have here, this is how you repair potholes, or you could repair what it is that you can get this at Lowe's, which we want to get for one of our sponsors for our show. Let's take a picture of this bag. Did you get a picture of it, John?
Yeah, I just did.
So it's a 60-pound bag of asphalt. See this, Bowie? So this bag you can put in potholes or problems in your driveway, and you don't need to heat it up. You open it up and get a shovel and just shovel it into where the holes are, and it comes in just a 60-pound bag of asphalt. And then what you do is, once you put it in, build it up a little bit higher than it needs to be, and then then tap it down with your feet, and then like put a board on it. You see, Bowie? And then run over the board back and forth with your car. See, Bowie could use this on his bower. pave the bower to impress the ladybirds.
Yeah, he could build a big driveway with that. Build himself a runway to come in for a landing.
That's right. All the ladybirds would be really impressed by his property therapy skills. So this is cool. So we have here property defenders, the Dye family, and we've talked about the quiet enjoyment. How we have that's a property therapy, which you want to have quiet enjoyment of your properties. You want to have the right to sleep. Mm-hmm.
It is,
to have a good night's rest, right?
Yes, it is.
And we've talked about how they've used the property therapy issues of light and the defenses of their sinking feelings, and dogs, pet friends to help them defend their properties.
Guns.
Yeah. The firearms give peace of mind, and so we want to also elect prosecutors that apply the law in empathetic ways for property owners. You see, so that's something that is an incidental to this whole issue here. So we've talked about that and how they've used, and then the diagnostics. We've talked about diagnostics of where the squirrels were getting in. And so, but once you have your properties, it becomes a talent harbor, right? You can grow in your talents in all sorts of ways. And so, like playing guitar and amplifiers will help to articulate the sound. So, John has a property therapy project that he helped rebuild an amplifier at his church.
Yeah, and this is one of those times when I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. I know just enough about amplifiers to know what not to touch. And there are deadly voltages inside of these old style tube amplifiers, because the tubes run at high voltage. The power tubes can run at several hundred volts, which is more than your wall current, because they have these heaters inside them that heat up and for these big power tubes to make the amp sound the way it needs to. And it's really old technology that they don't really use so much anymore. They're just in certain cases. And one of the things they still use them for is guitar amplifiers. And a lot of the guitar players really love the sound of a tube amp. And it's only here recently, maybe about 2010 or 11, when these Kemper amplifiers came out, that you can really get the sound of your favorite tube amplifier in a digital format.
So when you have a lot of latent power in these amps, because they're creating like the guitars, a lot of these non-acoustic guitars, they're not, they don't sound anything at all, right?
Yeah,
But you
yes.
can get a kick sound to thousands of feet away because of that. So you're going to have there's a lot of latent power. So you got to know what's your kill zone, what's your danger zones, and that's the one on the education. The education issues for property therapists is educate yourself.
Yeah, so I knew just enough to know what not to touch, which is a good starting point. And then I get on YouTube and I see a lot of guys in there showing how to change the tubes. And tubes are a normal wear item, and they're kind of like tires on your car. You're going to get so many miles out of them, and then you got to replace them. And then there's a process called biasing the amp that when you change tubes, if your new tubes aren't quite the same specs as your old tubes, there's some adjustments you need to make with like a voltmeter. There's a place where you plug in a voltmeter and you set it to a certain voltage, so your amp is set right and the tubes are going to last as long as they can. But this amp was about 20 years old, and the next thing that
And it was used in the church band, right?
Yeah,
And the preacher and the pastor was using.
yeah, and the next step, if it's not sounding quite right, is you want to change all your power capacitors. And your capacitor is a little electronic device that kind of acts like a really short-term battery. It charges up and it releases electricity right when, like, say you hit a loud note and it needs that extra juice to push that sound out through the amplifier. That's what your capacitors do. I just think of it like a short-term battery. They charge up and they release. Those are the things that will actually can hurt you when you're working on a tube amp. After it's unplugged, these capacitors can still be holding voltage, and if you touch the wrong end of one of those and your other hand's grounded, man, you're going to get all that voltage right through your body. So I watched some videos on how to discharge your capacitors, which you take a wire from one end and touch it to the other end, and it discharges through the wire.
Now, on these tube amps, do they sell them on the market like at Big Dudes?
Yep. One of our newest sponsors here for the month of October is Big Dudes Music City, where they have these exact same types of amplifiers I'm talking about. They got a lot of tube amps, and they also have a lot of these newer digital amps like the Kemper that I use today. Actually, this Kemper right in front of me came from Big Dudes. The internet's been a level playing field for a long time for buying things, and for a while there, you could buy stuff over the internet, and maybe you could save some sales tax. But pretty much all the internet sites are charging sales tax these days, even like eBay. So you're not really saving any money on the internet. You can go down to Big Dudes, and they'll match the same prices you see on your favorite internet retailers for the most part. And you're going to pay your sales tax just like you would on your internet purchase. But what you're going to get for your money is all this experience of all the sales guys there, because most of them have been lifetime musicians. A lot of them have played in a lot of local bands. I've shared the stage with several of them. My friends have worked there. Like I said, the manager there now is the bass player from the original band I used to play in. And these guys really know their trade. You have all these hundreds and thousands of hours of musical experience into that sale. They're selling with their product. So when you make that purchase there, they're going to be able to answer your questions. You're going to build a relationship with these sales guys, and they're going to be there for you after the sale. It's nice to order something on Amazon and have it show up on your doorstep, but good luck when you need to figure out why something doesn't work quite right, or maybe you're having a warranty issue. That's when it's really nice to have a local store to talk to the people and take that back to, or get some advice. That's when that really pays off.
And that's the fact they've been in around from the 1970s, was it?
1976, I believe.
1976. That's impressive staying power. And the reason that they've stayed power is because they've identified like one of the fundamental needs of humanity is to be cheered up. And music
they've been there
helps with that.
basically all my life.
Music lifts your spirits.
I remember growing up in the 80s when I just wanted to know how to get that guitar sound where all the guys had. And back then you had to have just stacks of equipment. You had to have
and if you have these properties, the equipment, this is property and they're talent harbors, so you can develop your talents, share your talents.
And you got to remember this was before the internet, so you had to go to a store like that to talk to the professionals to see how do I get the sound I'm looking for, and and how do my favorite artists get their sound? Show me what kind of things they're using. And these they send their sales guys to the NAMM, the music show for the music manufacturers, where they show all the upcoming equipment. This is still a local store that's sending those guys out to Los Angeles to see what all the equipment's going to come out this year, and they're going to know about it already, so they can tell you about it and teach you to use it.
So this isn't your first rodeo on fixing amps, is it?
No, and
you grew up fixing
Yeah, in my past, when I've had
with the band.
when I've had an amp I couldn't fix, they've got a repair shop in their basement. Dale used to run a business called Online Electronics. It's now part of Big Dudes, as far as I know. I guess they still are. So they have their in-house repair guy that's been there for forever. for in my lifetime, I think he's been, and also with John White, the guitar instructor. He's also the guy that does the guitar setups and repairs, installs pickups, changes your strings. Is also the guy that gives the guitar lessons there, and they've just recently started giving Skype lessons. So you don't have to be local. You don't have to go down there. If you're immune compromised and you think you can't get out for guitar lessons, you can do it right over the Skype or however whatever digital format they're using it, and still get that one-on-one guitar lesson if you're looking to play. And say maybe I can't handle a guitar. Maybe 6 strings is too much for me. They've got ukuleles. These are easy to play. If you got 2 fingers and a string that you can strum with your other hand, I guarantee you can play ukulele. They're affordable. There's probably all kinds of lessons on YouTube. You just learn a few chords and get going and learn how to play a few of your favorite songs, and that'll really get the bug. And maybe you can move up to a guitar after you've learned to play some chords on a ukulele.
So this is the Property Therapy Show on 102.9 FM and 1140 AM.
And that's our new sponsor, Big Dudes Music City, 3817 Broadway Boulevard, Kansas City, Missouri. They're open, I think, every day except Sunday, or you just online anytime, bigdudes.com.
Music lessons. And
I mean, you can look on their the Google
equipment.
reviews. Look on those Google reviews.
I've always remembered them.
I've left a comment on there with a picture of the very first amplifier I ever bought. It was in the late '80s. I found my receipt for it. I'm going to scan this in, put it on their Google reviews just to prove how long I've been a customer of this music store. Because I mean that was my Disneyland as a kid. Growing up, I didn't care about Mickey Mouse. I cared about playing some music and learning how to play that guitar. And I saw the Big Dudes commercials on TV where the big thing at the time, this was late 80s, was these big digital keyboards were big at the time. They had the big selection of all the latest keyboards and synthesizers that were out at the time. It was just so awesome as a kid to go there. I mean, that was my Disneyland, to go there and play all these keyboards. And you can still go there and see all the guitars. I mean, take your kid up there just to look at a wall of guitars, just inspire your kid to want to play one.
And so John is a property therapist for musical instruments. And I remember the first, when we had John on the show, I interviewed John, and that day the piano broke down at the Heritage Center on the stage.
He knew I was not fooling around when I took that keyboard apart. And,
we took the keyboard off the stage and brought it back to the tool laboratory, and the hands-on part of the Heritage Center opened it right up. And this is John's first rodeo on these keyboards. He used to buy them, right? Buy them and fix them up.
Yeah, you had a whole bank of keys that was not working. I'm like, hey, man, I bet if we just take this apart and jiggle some wires, I bet you got a loose connection. And about the time we got it apart, it started working again. It's been working fine ever since.
This is like the vibrations from his spirit and his talents. Is like, this is...
That keyboard,
he earned himself a co-host spot.
That keyboard did not want to mess with my skills. I tell you what, Dave, if you like playing piano, I've had an acoustic piano since I was little. It's one of the things I took some piano lessons, and my parents actually bought a nice piano, and I still have it to this day. But man, I'm telling you, the last time I moved, I had to move that thing by myself. It was the heaviest thing I ever moved. Down at Big Dudes, they've got these Casio Privia pianos, and it feels exactly like you're playing an acoustic piano. The weighted keys they have are just exactly like your fingers need to feel when you're playing an acoustic piano. And they're much less than an acoustic piano. They're easy to move. You can practice them with your headphones on. They sound way better, and you never have to tune them. And whenever you move, throw it in the back seat of your car, because I think that some of them weighs like as little as 15 pounds. I cannot believe they have weighted keys. But go down there and check one out, the Casio Privias, if you're into a piano, or if you want to get your kids into playing piano.
Yeah, we want to encourage everybody to develop their talents. And if you have property in your lives that helps you stabilize yourself, get traction in your life, help you realize your dreams and talents. And talents are the things that you can take with you into the next world, right? You can't take the property with you, but you can take your ability to play the property, right?
That's right. I know that's one thing Adam
That's the portal.
Both have in common is we both love playing our music and performing for people. and the enjoyment we get ourselves, and we also share it with other people.
And to be able to work on it, you can't take the property with you, but you can take your ability to fix it with you, or be able to diagnose or be able to problem solve. It goes. You can apply that through all sorts of fields. Or it's the field like of a can-do spirit. You know, when you're presented with the problems or issues, you know, if you've got the track record with it, being able to address problems, property therapy issues in the past, you're like, okay, well, how am I going to figure this one out? Instead of letting your spirit get suffocated. So that's the morale issue of the property therapist. You know, what you've done in the past, what's your property therapy history?
That's right. That's one more time. That's Big Dudes Music City, bigdudes.com, just like it sounds, Big Dudes, 3817 Broadway Boulevard, and it's 816-931-4638. That's 816-931-4638, and tell them that you heard about it on the Property Therapy Show. What you're going to get is, if you're a first-time customer, you're going to get 10% off your first purchase. You're going to get a gift certificate for $10 off your next purchase. And it's the month of October, which is a 10, so it's the 10-10-10 special for Property Therapy Show listeners.
And we might put you on the show, too.
Yeah, I think next week, we're going to talk to one of the employees there, or maybe Doug, the manager, and he's going to tell us all about what's going on there for the month of October. You know, it's nice to see them. They made it through the pandemic, you know, going strong, and, you know, they've run a great business for all to be alive through all these years, you know, through other music stores that have come and gone through the area. And they've just been the professionals' place to shop, and also helping out with lessons and repairs. They've been doing it since 1976.
So this is the Property Therapy and Talent Development Show on 102.9 FM and 1140 AM. We are on every Thursday at 12 p.m. We are on in 3 states, Kansas, Missouri, and up in Minnesota.
And if you don't catch us on the radio Thursdays at noon, catch us a replay on YouTube. You can always check our previous episodes from the weeks past.
The Property Therapy Show.
If you love music, go back and check out our episode with Nick Marshall. That was our first HD radio with our good microphones episode. We made a big jump in sound quality. It was our first step for mankind into the new age of the digital recording and the upgraded microphones. So we're awfully proud of Nick and that show he helped us with. I just went to his wedding. He just recently got married.
Congratulations,
He's loving life. We're going to have him back on here one of these days and ask him about his new property therapy skills that he's developing with his children, and what that's like to go through a pandemic and a pregnancy with his new wife.
So this is a motivational show, the Property Therapy Show, and there's many ways to motivate people, aren't there? With musical performances and biographical interviews, and how people are making history, talking to people, and skits, history alive. And so let's bring some music alive. Let's hear some guitar.
Yeah, I'm going to break out the guitar here in just a minute and show you what how the Kemper amplifier emulates these tube amplifier sounds. But here, I'm going to grab the guitar.
We have John's getting his Les Paul guitar out. It's a beautiful sound.
Let's just go through some of the sounds I would use in like my cover band.
He's got a foot pedal, and he's going through his different tracks.
This is actually the sound that I profiled into this Kemper profiler of the amplifier I used to use, which was a Engel tube preamp. It had 5 of the smaller tubes in it, so it wasn't quite as expensive to maintain because it didn't have the more expensive power tubes, but I was still getting a tube type sound, which was good for the kind of rock music I was playing at the time. So let's give a listen to that. That's what an overdriven tube amp would sound like your Marshall, like the kind of thing you might see Guns N' Roses using, or your favorite 80s band. And I can emulate that sound now just using this electronic device, and no tubes required. It takes a lot less electricity and no maintenance. So we got to love that. Say if I want my electric guitar to sound like an acoustic, there's also a setting for that.
So when you're practicing your guitar, that is a type of property therapy as well, right? So it's a positive property issue. When you're fixing property, that would be maintenance issues, negative issues of addressing that negative issue. But when you're practicing your guitar, that's how you're realizing your dreams with this property. Like, I love that song, I want to play that song. How are you going to realize your dreams? How are you going to learn the chords? How are you going to learn the technique on the guitar? How are you going to get the equipment together? How are you going to get the people around you to listen to you? How are you going to, increase the goodwill factor in the community to get your reputation out, so people know that the gig that you do and that how you can inspire them?
I play in church now, so let's find some of my favorite church type sounds. I like to have a little echo and some reverb on your guitar, and what normally used to take a lot of external processors and things, or a lot of foot pedals, you can just get from this Kemper amplifier, because all the effects are built in, which is what's great is you don't have all these other little devices and things that take batteries or power adapters and have to all be plugged in individually. It's all just plugged in one thing, and as long as that one thing is working, you're good to go.
Play some Stairway to Heaven with some echo.
I think that's all that YouTube will let us play. It's just two chords, right? That's not really the song. Echoes.
He's doing harmonics.
And the echoes are provided by the digital delay inside the Kemper that I bought from Big Dudes. Let's go for a little bit bigger sound.
So he's doing all this by adjusting the different effects of the guitar just with his foot. And what's nice about this is you can play this guitar and have it on the headphones, and the neighbors won't hear it.
Does it sound like you might hear a band like U2? They have a lot of effects. If you look on YouTube and look for the Edge, the U2's guitar player, he has thousands of dollars worth of stuff and giant racks that are all, takes a specialist to program all these sounds that they use for every song. You can use a Kemper and get most of that same sound for a whole lot less money. It's probably more like a lead sound here. Let's see.
So these are different sound colors that you can paint with.
This is pretty popular for the praise and worship music too. It's when you do swells.
That's what musicians do. We paint with color, with sound colors.
So it's never been easier just to get a awesome professional guitar sound, and these are downloadable. You can buy sounds. You can make your own with your amplifier and pedal collection, and trade with people all over the world. There's a big thing called the Rig Exchange at Kemper.com. So go down to Big Dudes if you're interested in getting these kinds of sounds. Because I'm telling you, it's one thing to know how to play a guitar, but it's a whole nother world to know how to make it sound like what you want. It's a completely different talent.
For those just tuned in, this is the Property Therapy and Talent Development Show, 102.9 FM and 1140 AM. John is exhibiting his equipment capabilities for the amps and the different sound colors that you can paint with. This is like a cathedral sound, the echoing of the cathedral.
Yeah, it actually makes some notes an octave higher. So it's a pitch change effect that's in the Kemper.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful sound. If you ever get a chance to play in a cathedral, do it. I remember right after I got out of music school, I played a Bach's Chaconne in a cathedral. Glorious. It just echoes. And they designed these cathedrals that way to bring out like a reverence and awe for your creator. So they have that sound. So this is a cathedral echo. So they use that. That sounds like you see that and hear that in praise worship bands a lot. That sound color.
Always a lot of reverb and just echo, like a delay. It's echo sound in there for this type of music. When the drums and everything are going and your echo kind of lines up with the rhythm, that's kind of when it gives that pulsating sound that.
So John's sharing the circle of life, how amps have now come alive. So the amp was dead, an amp that has come alive now. This is one of the themes in the skits that we do here at the Heritage Center, the tribulations into testimonies, and document the circle of life of property therapy and how that reverbs in people's lives and how their lives are blessed and inspire people. It really does. And just never underestimate the power of property therapy and the power of how when you are doing property therapy, how you're inspiring others.
That's right.
The stories that you're telling.
I know that's right.
Yeah. In these stories like the family here, and they're the property defenders, and the stories that inspire this whole community to hear your stories, and because they're like, yeah, I've dealt with the same thing, and now I can defend. I can be a property defender like Sheila.
I don't know what to do.
Right. So
Let's
build up. Yeah, get educated. Build your morale. That's why we got the show. It's a motivational show.
Buy that property.
That's
and
right.
Protect it.
Exactly. That sounds like right off of some of the Beatles.
The sounds you can get out of these digital amps these days are just completely unlimited. You know, even if you buy an expensive amp, it's only going to have a few sounds in it. Even the best amps, you know, that's why people buy all these effects pedals and processors and then start buying different guitars and things for all the different sounds they want to get. But just get one good guitar and one good like modeling amplifier like this Kemper here. And you're good to go, man. If I had this as a kid, I would have probably never left my house. I'd never had my first job. I would have failed miserably at property therapy I would have been a really good guitar player instead of just an okay one with a whole lot of property therapy skills.
So get your FTS rings, follow the spirit in your life. FTS, set in stainless steel. Call us at 816-674-3035. Just got a delivery of 250 FTS rings, size 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Get them while we still have some. They're going quick.
We want FTS in your life. Because how do you know what right is unless you follow the Spirit in your life? So we are the Property Therapy Show. John's bringing the amp to life. Right now he's sharing how an amp can, the different sound colors that you can paint with. And we are with Property Defenders.
The Wild Bunch.
Sheila, yeah. Sheila Dye and Dr. Dye. Dr. Dye is a retired property therapist of the body, property therapist of the teeth. In other words, a dentist, a retired property therapist of the body.
That's right.
And Sheila is the property defender, Sheila.
She protects all my property.
Oh, yeah.
She got the dogs and I got the guns.
Stay away from their property. That's all I'm going to say.
Bring it on. See how good we are.
They got lots of talent.
We got kids to every window. They're armed and dangerous. 9 children. We got all corners. We got all corners collected. You can't sneak up on us.
All right, we'd like to thank Big Dudes, our new sponsor for the month of October. If you go down there, 3817 Broadway, tell them you heard about them on the Property Therapy Show. Get your 10% discount, your $10 gift certificate for your next purchase. It's a 10-10-10 special for the month of October. And find us on Facebook and YouTube. Just search Property Therapy Show. Either way, find our show page on Facebook and find all of our videos on YouTube. If you're a radio listener, you can go back and listen to our previous episodes. And
go on to YouTube, subscribe to our channel, Property Therapy
please.
Show.
We'd like to take it to the next level. We need your help.
Thanks again to the Dye family, the Property Defender family, and John for sharing his Contractor Olympics, his talent for musical instrument renaissance.
Adam, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.